And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, we're going to do something pretty cool. We're going to go back a little bit and we're going to look at the rise of Pokemon investing. And when I talk about Pokemon investing, because of what this channel is, obviously you guys should know what I'm talking about, that I'm talking about more the TCG aspect of Pokemon and look at the rise in that sort of way. Now, something if you guys didn't get a chance, the last live I had was the podcast with myself, Cool Trainer Ryan, and Rattle. It's definitely some of the most fun I have in this hobby. At the end of that live, PokeRev hopped on again. This is now the second time he has hopped on one of the lives with myself, Cool Trainer Ryan, and Rattle, and it's always a great time. It's about as unfiltered of a Pokemon chat as you're gonna get. It is officially the #1 Pokemon podcast in Guam, so that's kind of a big deal. But no, it's just it's a all around fun time. But one of the things that we had talked about during that live was PokeRev had asked me to bring up like uh, Google Trends, and there's a lot of things in Pokemon in order to talk about Pokemon investing, talk about where are people looking in the market, what are good indicators? And one of the indicators I had never really thought about was what he said was Google Trends. And all Google Trends is very simple. It's just tracking how many people on Google are tracking keywords like Pokemon or Pokemon trading cards, Pokemon investing, those key search terms. So I figured, that was interesting. We didn't really get to dive really deep into that during the live, and it's something I wish we could have dove a little bit deeper into. So what I want to do in today's video is just pull up some different Google Trends. Now, this is not the end all be all of the rise of Pokemon investing. This is just a very small snippet. But as I've explained to you guys before, this channel, in my opinion, it's not really just individual videos. This video or this channel, these videos is just one long conversation. And this is just a part of that conversation. It's not the end all be all. It's just a part of it. Because when you look at the rise of Pokemon investing, you got to look at like any sort of indicators you can find. And Google Trends is definitely one of those great indicators. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. And I have a couple like auto-populated Google Trends that I looked up that I thought would be interesting. And I'm going to, at the end, leave it up to you guys in the chat. If you have any Google Trends you want me to type in, type in certain keywords, see what people were looking for. We'll do that at the end. So what I'm going to do is just share my screen. Share. All right. So this is the first one I did. And this is also the same one that was on the live on Friday. It was just very simple search term, Pokemon. And as you can see, and this is, so just so you guys know what's the timeline we're looking at, is going to be 2004 to present. And the reason why we're doing such a long time rise is because the title of this video is The Rise of Pokemon Investing. And in order to see the rise, you have to have as long track record as you can. And so, like I said, this is just a small snippet of, some of the data we could pull out, and we can just kind of speculate on what this is. So first off, this huge spike right here, just for the general search term Pokemon, it's exactly what you think it is. It's right around June, July 2016. We all know what came out in 2016 was just Pokemon Go. So that is obviously what this is. So the next one I did was now Pokemon card. Now this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because you can see right here, this is that August 2016 spike. And that's during the Pokemon Go craze. And we just saw it in the last chart when we looked at Pokemon, that huge spike. So there was definitely a trickle down effect from Pokemon Go to the trading cards. And we saw a little mini boom in 2016 with Pokemon trading cards. And I've said it before, a lot of other people have said it. The crazy, spike we saw in 2016 was nothing in comparison to 2020. 2020 was massively different, massively larger. So you can see the trends, but now this is where we are in that October, September timeline of 2020. This initial run up of spike was massive because we were down here. And when you look at the history of just this Google trend, it's pretty much, stagnant from when this started recording, like Google Trends from 2004 all the way up to 2016. It's pretty steady. You got your peaks and valleys, and then it cooled down again. But here we are, like in January 2021 is that absolutely massive spike. So we had that initial run up, and then we had this like, little downturn, and then we had this, massive spike again. And now if you start to think of like what does a bubble graph look like, this almost makes you nervous when you look at a bubble, like what does a graph of a bubble looks like. And see if I could pull out real quick. I'll see if I could pull up like a graph. This wasn't something I was like planning on doing. Bubble. So I'm going to try to pull out an image of what a stock bubble looks like. And then we'll share that screen again and we'll look, because this is something, like I said, I didn't really think about at the time. All right. So you can see this is like what bubble graphs look like, and it's almost eerily similar to this. So this is like, imagine the very early start of the bubble. So you got your huge run up, you got a little dip, then you have here, and then you have that initial drop. And this is like what they call the bull trap. So as it starts to drop, this is where all your bulls pile in, and who think Pokemon's still hot. And, you start to see this run up. And as you look at the graph, if that is the case, here's your huge initial run up. You could have your little downturn and then your peak. And then it comes down here, it settles, and then it has that rebound because of that bull. But then it's just that like huge retrace until eventually it levels out. But hopefully you're still higher than you were. So that's not something I really thought about until I was just looking at this graph. I'm like, this is eerily familiar. I do have a different drink for today. I made a milkshake for tonight. So that is definitely something different. But so yeah, this is a Pokemon card search term. And then, but this is the interesting thing. We are still here in June 2020. Even where we are lower than the highs of January 2021, we're still higher for Pokemon search term than we were in the peak of Pokemon Go. So even where we are today, and that's why when people talk, we say, yes, the hobby is definitely what's in a downtrend, and the trends prove that. But in relative to the history of this hobby, we are still extremely high. And that's why I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, one of the reasons I want to make this video is because I want to come back to this video in like maybe a couple months or a year or two and just see where this graph continues. Do we continue to see this, Pokemon trends being up here, still above the 2016 Pokemon Go bubble? And I personally think we have a good possibility that it's going to be up here. Now, here's another search term. This is just Pokemon Go. And the reason why I put this in here was because I wanted to see if we saw any sort of like spike from Pokemon Go because of like the new game. So I guess I'll make that a little shorter. So we'll go to a 90-day view for Pokemon Go if it wants to load, which it doesn't. All right. So we did have this little, tick up for Pokemon Go in the last 90 days, but it's not huge. And I thought like people searching Pokemon Go, for like the new expansion set would be much higher. But I don't know. Sometimes charts like this makes you wonder, like, we live in this bubble. We're very aware that Pokemon Go is released in Japan, that it's coming to English and stuff like that, there's almost like a part of me questions, who are the people that like don't even know what the next sets are? So then the next one I did was Pokemon Invested. And this is something I found extremely interesting. When you look at Pokemon Invested, there's almost no search in early 20 or 2004. There's like none. But this was very interesting. Pokemon, the key search term Pokemon Invested has a massive spike during the Pokemon Go boom. And I would have thought that Pokemon Invested search term, you would have seen it over here much higher. And I don't know why that is. I would have always thought of Pokemon investing having an extremely like apparent correlation to the trading card game and not Pokemon as the IP, because really 2016 is definitely more what that was. So I am interested on why the Pokemon investments term was so much higher than it was over here. Now, this is something I also did. So now this search term right here on your screen is Pokemon card price. Now, 2016 for that Pokemon Go boom, we were down here. So people searching for actual Pokemon card prices was very low. So maybe that Pokemon Go boom for the invest in whatever reason that was super high. I can't really like understand why. But when you look at Pokemon card price, you see this huge uptick in August, September, October 2020. Just crazy. And again, you see that dip, but look at where we are when it comes to Pokemon card prices. We're still way up here, meaning people are still very interested in, card prices, stuff like that. So I don't know what that's about, but it's definitely something to question, or at least ask questions about. So next thing I did was I just wanted to see, like, is there a potential correlation between, obviously we know the Logan Paul hype when it happened. I mean, these charts are making it pretty apparent that he did have a bigger effect than I would like to admit, because when you look at when he did his box break to a lot of these trends, like this search is massive. But I typed in Charizard First Edition as a search term. That's what we're on right now. And again, just massive uptick. And this has to be because of the Logan Paul box break. Like, just has to be. But then as, I would say the attention pulled away from like that box break, you can see Charizard First Edition, the search terms started becoming less and less and less. But it's ironic because the price for Charizard First Editions during this time was actually going really high up. Now, I would like to look at these dates like February, June, when you had some of these upticks. I'm wondering if these had anything to do with some of the sales that happened. So that's something I'm interested in. And then I wanted to look at Pokemon Skyridge too, because my favorite set, whatever. I shill it, call it what you want. But now this is the interesting thing about that. There is a uptick with the rest of the market, but the highs of highs is still past that, meaning January. And one of the things I always say is one of my big arguments for sets like this is it takes time, or takes people a little bit of time to make their way down the rabbit hole and to get to sets like this. And then we see this massive downturn. And if you look, we're actually pretty close on sets like this to, I would call it average-ish. I mean, we're still high in comparison, but like pretty low. So that's interesting. And I want to compare that again to like the Charizard. So, the more niche-y stuff doesn't really hold like the strong steam as going back now to the Charizard, which is still way up here. So I thought that's interesting. I want you guys to just take what you want from that. I mean, the trends don't really lie. Like, the more niche-y stuff kind of settles back down. Like here's Pokemon Skyridge. We're back here. We'll go back to Charizard first edition, but we're still up here. So that's pretty interesting. Now, these are two key terms that I wanted to look at back to back. And I wanted to type in how to sell Pokemon cards because so this is how to sell Pokemon cards. And I was very interested in this term because I was like one of the things that has to happen with Pokemon in order to kill the maybe not kill's a bad word, but hurt the prices of Pokemon is you obviously have all those people come in at the beginning, jack up prices. But one of the things that will hurt prices is people trying to sell. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, if I'm right by that thinking, meaning people come in, they're buying. And then when they get out, it's like that quote, like buy, sell, panic sell, And so I was like, okay, well, if all that hype started in October 2020, when would it take people to start selling cards? And in my head, like I was thinking 5 to 6 month timeline. So how to sell Pokemon cards. So this is November 2020. The heights of how the sell is April. Well, hold on. Is May 2021. So it took people from October is down here. October is not even close to the high. It's right there, right before this first initial spike. October for everything else is when things jacked up. But it took all the way until May 2021. So you got October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. You had 7 month timeline from when people were really looking to sell cards, which I thought that was interesting because all the other search terms, we saw that huge uptick, October 2020, September, October, November 2020, huge uptick, with the exception of how to sell Pokemon cards. So now the next search term I did, which is the most reassuring search term I had, is this one. Pokemon card collecting. And this is why I'm happy about it. Do you see this huge spike right here? Pokemon card collecting spike came in February 2021. And why is that important to me? Because you had everybody coming in October, November of 2020, and they were doing those terms. Pokemon card prices, Pokemon investing, all this stuff. But when people started caring about collecting was a couple months afterwards, meaning people really started to care about this up here. Now, I don't like to see this massive drop down in August 2021, December 2021, because when it comes to the actual collecting of the cards, we've made a little retrace. We're starting to creep back up here June 2020. But when you look at these numbers, they're very eerily similar to like the rest of this hobby. And again, this is just Pokemon or just Google Trends. So this is just a very small snapshot. But it's like, okay, I'm really happy to see this spike because this means people started looking at collecting after they were looking at investing. And you would say that the people up here hopefully were the more true collectors. But I don't know. But now when you look here and you start to see this spike coming back up, that's a good thing. Meaning people are really caring about Pokemon again. And I'm wondering if the reason this is going up, Pokemon and, card collecting, is because the investors are starting to kind of trickle away a little bit. And you're going to start to see the true collectors, because I think in order to have Pokemon be a, investable asset or something that's going to increase in money, I think one of the most important things that is needed is for people that just want to be collectors first. I personally think it's impossible to be a strictly investor and not be a collector at all. So I'm hoping with that little uptrend we saw at the end is a good thing. But now I want to leave this up to you guys a little bit. I'm going to open it up to anybody down in the chat. Do you have a Google trend? Do you want me to pull out any like keywords you think might be interesting, might actually like make sense for this video? Because I'm trying to think, when I think about the topic and the title of this video, the rise of Pokemon investing, I think there's a lot of things you have to take into account. And a lot of that rise in Pokemon investing, if you want to like pull yourself now back, let's pull ourselves all the way to the beginning and work our way through the timeline. 1999, there was, some people thought Pokemon was definitely investable. And that might sound crazy to people, but there were. Like, trust me, when you had Charizard, cards selling for $100 for unlimited cards during 1999 because it was the chase cards, and packs were super expensive, and no stores were selling them, and everybody wanted them as this like collectible thing. And yes, it was a children's playing card game, and people were putting them in their back pockets and playing the games at Toys R Us and doing all that stuff. But there was, for some people, definitely still the thought of Pokemon as being an investable aspect. That was definitely existed in 99. It wasn't close to what it actually is today. Now, so Kevin Clear said, search Logan Paul Pokemon. So we'll definitely do that. Yeah. So, and then Basic Blue Boy said you could search each Pokemon set and compare spike heights and to perceive popularity. That's interesting. Ooh, and then Pokemon Classic said, check out Pokemon PSA. All right. So I was going to go through the whole timeline, but I actually really like some of these search terms. So I want to look at that. So we'll look at Kevin's first. He said, check Logan. Wait, what did he say? You said, check out Logan Paul Pokemon. All right. So Logan Paul Pokemon. Let's look at this. So past 12 months, I mean, you got the two big spikes in the last year. I'm guessing those are probably in correlation with two of his box breaks. So I'm guessing he did or when he opened the fake case. So maybe that was January. And here we are in April. So he probably just did a booster box break there. But let's look at past 5 years. Oh, yeah. Huge spike here. I mean, it makes sense, though. And then January. So really, there's only three. Well, this is weird. There's a couple searches down here for Logan Paul. It's October. It's interesting. This is the big run up when he had his box break down here. So it looks like his later box breaks in June of 2021. And then when he opened the fake case in January, and then here in May. It's interesting, like that people searching Logan Paul box breaks is much higher than it would be in October. I'm pretty interested by that. Let's see. We got Pokemon Classic said, check out Pokemon PSA, Pokemon grading. Relatively new discovery for most. Let's try that. Pokemon grading. Look at that. When it comes to Pokemon grading, here we are. Let's look at the entire 2004 to present. So almost nothing down here. I mean, very low. Look at this spike from September 2020 during that Logan Paul mania to the highs of January 2021. Look at this. Wow. So Pokemon Classics was right. For Pokemon grading, yeah, it's almost as if every single Pokemon term just had this massive influx in October. But this is also, it's just amazing how eerily similar so many of these search terms really are. So you said check Pokemon grading. Pokemon. We'll compare that to Pokemon PSA. Oh wow. These charts are almost identical. The only difference is you can see Pokemon PSA in 2016 had this, pretty big spike during the Pokemon Go boom, which it didn't really have Pokemon grading. I guess probably because PSA was really the only game, only game in town. I guess Beckett was around in 2016, but they weren't really an option then. I guess kind of. Yeah, like these charts are identical. Pokemon grading versus Pokemon PSA. What were some of the other search terms people were asking? Pokemon Classic said Logan Paul fake case. Let's try that one. Logan Paul fake Pokemon case. So Logan Paul fake Pokemon. So you got his initial box break. I don't know if people thought what he was doing was fake. I know like he had broke a fake booster box, so maybe that's what happens here. But then this is the rattle spike right here when Rattle made his video, January 2022, just exploded. So Basic Blue Boy said Pokemon PSA versus Pokemon CGC. Let's do that. That's a good comparison. Pokemon PSA. And then we'll compare that to Pokemon CGC. So the blue is PSA here. Oh man, that's like, well, we'll have to shorten this window. So we'll do last 90 days. I mean, blue being PSA. Look at the averages here. PSA is definitely king when it comes to popularity. CGC is low. I'm always amazed at hearing the stories from people from like Collecticon and stuff who say that some people still walk up to them at their booths and ask them like, what is CGC? Like, who is CGC? And again, that's just probably for most of us just such a mind-blowing thing because it's something we talk about all the time because we live in this microcosm. But I'm always amazed that you can have somebody going to a Collecticon event, which is a mainly Pokemon TCG buying and selling event, and graded cards being such a huge part of this hobby, and somebody still could walk up to a booth and potentially see a CGC slab for the first time ever in their life. It is kind of like mind-blowing in a way. Yeah. Ryan said try Charizard cards. So I did do that earlier. Try Pokemon base set. We could do that. Pokemon set. So Pokemon base set is probably going to just look last 5 years. Yeah. It's just everything has this huge spike. But I am interested because when you look down here, every single chart has this uptick happening right now. It's like, we have this huge spike and we leveled down for a while and are we getting back into it? Like, is the Pokemon hype picking back up? Interesting, right? And all these charts that we're looking at have this like Google Trends right real recently in like the last month or two picking up, which actually kind of goes against a lot of the thoughts, because normally some of the thoughts for Pokemon is normally you'll see a little bit of a downtrend during the summertime, but all these Google Trends are kind of saying something different. Uh, that's interesting. And to kind of go back, a little bit and think about what I was talking about, just like, the rise of Pokemon investing. So, after 1999, like, it dipped down for a little bit, meaning a lot of just the people that were left in the hobby, especially like during your 2003 timeline. And this is coming from like people like Joe Echo Base Collectibles, who told me what the hobby was like back then. Was people weren't really looking at Pokemon as this investment. People were looking at this as a collectible, trading card game. And the second part being the key, that it was actually a game and it was a trading card game. So people are trying to, like, fill in collections and stuff, but they weren't really buying everything with this sole intention that everything is just going to moon. And then, yes, there was the trophy card market still existed a little bit then, but it was very few and far between. And then you move into like the 2009, 2008 timeline where trophy cards picked up a little bit. Prices started to creep up, probably I'd say greater than like $1,000. Some of them were creeping into like the $1,000 to $10,000 range, $10,000 being on like maybe not 10,000. I'm trying to think of like that super secret battle SSB Mewtwo #3 trainer in 2009 sold for 1,800. So that was a lot of money when you look at 1,800 in relative to everything else that was in that hobby. And then that was just the #3 trainer. #2, #1 was still more expensive at that time. Then you creep up into 2016. After 2016, a lot of the more high-end items gradually started to tick up from 2016 to present. And then at present, just everything just mooned. Forget about it. Like, didn't matter what it was, what set, what booster box, what pack, what card, what graded slab, but just everything mooned in that October timeline. And the market, while I think the market was still very large at that time, it was extremely minuscule in comparison to the actual demand. Now, what I think is happening is we're starting to see supply really start to meet that demand. And we're still not totally there yet. I think especially when it comes to like modern product and stuff, buying modern product right now is definitely still very doable. But even I went to some stores recently just to be, because I was curious. Like, I happened to be at the store on on the day of Astral Radiance release, and still shelves were stocked, meaning people weren't really there waiting for the restock or anything. But that supply actually all got eaten up, which I was very surprised by. There were still a lot of collection boxes though, like Pikachu V boxes, a bunch of tins and stuff like that. And I was surprised, like, ETBs are actually starting to sit on the shelves a little bit more now, especially Darkness Ablaze ETBs. It's like people don't want to touch Darkness Ablaze ETBs as if they're the plague or something. So you said Booyah said search Pokemon knowledge. No, it would be like 0 searches. No, I just thought it was interesting to talk a little bit about the rise of Pokemon investment, but do it strictly from the lens of Google Trends. And Google Trends is a fun thing. If you guys haven't ever played around with it, I definitely recommend you just go on there, type in some different search terms and look at stuff. Now, I wanted to ask you guys a question. So during the live I had with Cool Trainer Ryan and Rattle and Rev hopped in at the end, we were just talking about like different stuff we're buying. And I had mentioned one of the things that I always kind of wanted to do on this channel, but I just never thought if anybody would actually be interested in. And I had mentioned that I have 2 of these. And if you don't know what these are, they're Pokemon boxes. And I have 2 of them. I always had one to keep and one to open. I've actually never opened this product myself. Like, I do know what the cards look like. And if you don't know what Pokemon is, it's just imagine a crossover between Pokemon and Garbage Pail Kids. So they're super I don't know, cringeworthy. Like there's 10 real scratch and sniff cards in here. There's 30 packs in here, 5 cards per pack. Like the side of the box says a new low in trading cards, but don't miss out. It's a lot of like toilet humor, a lot of stuff like that. I don't know. Is this something you guys would be interested in watching me open? I feel like this type of box has a very like Max Mofo feel to it. It says like on the side, Pokemon, the first movie, never coming to a theater near you. Yeah. And they're like, these are parody and not licensed or authorized by the makers of Pokemon. And in fact, Pokemon makes us puke. So I don't know. I was just thinking like maybe this would be something like, yeah, right here it says as not seen on TV. It's definitely like some really crappily, crudely drawn art, but it's something funny. I don't know. Let me know down in the chat if you guys would like to see a box break of that. People are saying do a box break, rip it. I'll watch. Okay. I'll make a video then. I think it'll just be interesting. It's a super novelty thing. And I definitely I don't even remember when I bought these. I want to say I bought them recently, probably in the last 18 months. These were purchased, and I bought 2 boxes, and I definitely probably like grossly overpaid for these. I want to say I spent like $50 a box, like $100 for both these, which is like, or maybe it was less than that. I think I actually sent the guy an offer for less. Maybe it was 45 a box, but definitely overpaid. Definitely like a super novelty thing. I don't think those things really have any value to it. But yeah. So I just want to run some stuff by you. I know this probably won't be a super long video tonight. Just had a couple things I want to talk about. Look at the Google Trends. I actually have a really lot of video ideas that I've been building up, but I just really haven't had time just with like life in general. But I definitely have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about soon. And I'm going to have some people coming on the channel pretty soon too, some more guests. So that'll be a lot of fun. But guys, if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. I am shocked by like the percentage of people who watch all these videos, it appears, but are not subscribed to the channel. It's like they're afraid of it. Don't be afraid. Smash that subscribe button. Do me a favor. If you're watching the live, hit the like button. But other than that, guys, I'll catch you on the next video.